Friendly neighborhood listeners, welcome back to Epic Media Adventure, your home for the nostalgia of yesterday and tomorrow. Today we're swinging into your ears to talk about Spider-Man. The new Spider-Man has been released, and Spider-Man's had more reboots than any superhero in history, I feel like. There's been multiple Peter Parkers, there's multiple universes, animated masterpieces, questionable dance moves. For a lot of us, Spider-Man wasn't just another superhero. He was the first one we saw ourselves in. And whether you grew up with Tobey, Andrew, Tom, the animated series, or even the old Electric Company version, everyone has their Spider-Man. And today we're going to talk about this Spider-Man and if it hit the mark for us. I'm Scott. Here with me, as always, Mr. Steven Garcia. Steve, how you doing?
Fantastic. Fantastic. Can't wait to jump into this episode. I had a really good time watching this, so yeah.
Part of that was you were sitting next to me, and I just have that effect on people. It's like when someone asks me to help them with their computer, and I just walk over, and then it works, and I don't do anything. It's like just sitting next to me makes the movie better.
Well, I was sitting next to a guy, mind you, we're at the 1040 show, who had a full cup of beer ready to go.
Yep, he did. He was ready.
Yeah, and he smelled like cigarettes. So I know he was kind of, he's probably out the night before. Hey, I'm ready to go. I'm going to go see Spider-Man tomorrow morning. And, so cigarettes and beer.
Cigarettes and beer, 10:40 a.m. showing. Well, let's get into it. So we know that we both enjoy Spider-Man. We both enjoy the Marvel Universe, and we're in for all of it. With this being the technically the fourth movie in the Spider-Man sequence. We've had a lot of backstory. We've had a lot of Mysterios in one of them. What were your thoughts on this one after seeing it?
Oh, I thought, and for this series, excluding Civil War and Endgame, all those, I think this was the best one. I feel like this was the best one of Tom Holland's reign here. It was cool, and I think it kind of solved a lot of the problems that I think Marvel's been having the last 5 years or so, ever since Endgame. Which seemed to be just kind of, and I'll lump in the Superman movie too, which is, we don't have much of a story, so let's just get a bunch of people in this movie and have them fight and have big action scenes. And, I think within a couple of those, there's a good story in there, but they just never really kind of allowed themselves to kind of dive into telling a good story. And I think this is kind of what sets Spider-Man apart from those, is that not only do we have great action pieces and it looks amazing, but it also tells a really cool story that you can kind of get invested in. And I had a great time watching this, and it made me feel kind of like, the Iron Man of old, which was kind of like a standalone story, but it had great performances and it had a really cool story. And Iron Man was an origin story, obviously, but for this Spider-Man one, it really kind of mixed. It had a great mix of characters, action, and it was really emotional, and it had great what's the word, like a great character arcs for Spider-Man. And, this movie is basically about maturing, and it's about accepting the things that you can't change, and kind of rolling with kind of things that happen to you, and wanting to kind of keep it the same, or trying to hold on to something that really kind of isn't working anymore. And I think I see that in a lot of life, a lot of people going through that. I myself was gone through that. So I mean, things like that, I think that's what kind of pushed it over the edge, actually, for me. And I loved it. I had a great time, and I'll go see it again. So yeah, how about you? What did you think? What about
Yeah,
you?
I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
This was an interesting scenario because we didn't have a whole lot of Marvel, big potato Marvel, for since the last Spider-Man movie, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes you get a lot happens in between, and then they're kind of in a different place automatically because of the universe that they've been put into. With this, you didn't really have that. Like you had, okay, great. It's been 4 years since Doctor Strange did a spell and wiped everyone's mind of Peter Parker. And so Spider-Man's just been doing his own thing. He was afraid. He didn't want to bring MJ back into it. He wanted her to just live her life, and he thought this is the best thing. And so you really get, in the beginning there, you really get that feeling of isolation. That one shot when it shows him like in the mask as he's, soaring down from the top of a building. And he's just in there breathing, and it's just kind of, it's a little rote and routine in his eyes. You can just see it, that it's just like, yep, I'm just doing my Spider-Man thing again. And it does talk to the duality of you need multiple aspects of your life. You can't just have work. You can't just have your friends. You can't just have specific things. You've got to have a broad exposure to a lot of things in life. And when you isolate yourself down, this is what happens. And that's what happened in this movie, which I think was a great kind of metaphor overall. I actually thought the movie was done after the Act 2, pretty much.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. And they're just going to, wrap it up and show that he's hanging out and stuff. And then then there was kind of the actual third act that came in. I thought they were just going to leave it for Endgame, or not Endgame, but Doomsday. Let it come out in some other place, like what was going on with Jean Grey. But I that might have just been me having to pee really bad, just sitting there like, come on, let's go, let's wrap this up, people.
Hey, that's what reminds me. How did Jean Grey get that thing off of the Hulk or Bruce Banner?
They
didn't
show it.
Okay.
Nope, they just showed her coming into the building, and that was it.
Oh, okay.
They didn't show like how she got it off of him, how she met him, how she got him there. Nothing.
Okay. Because I had to go pee, and I went pee at that point.
I'm getting old enough that I think I have to start checking those websites for like the markers of when you can go. I think I have to start doing that, and I've got to start, doing a mental inventory in my head of, do I have to go right now? Should I go right now?
I did that in the Odyssey. I sat through this kind of expositional dialogue scene, and I was like, okay, they seem to be talking for a while here. I'm gonna go. And the airport has to put another bathroom in that place because you got to walk across the whole thing for the bath. Anyways, I was at the theater right next to the bathrooms, and so right when I got to the door, I hear, wah, wah, wah. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna miss something. So I missed something, but I don't know what did I miss. So yeah.
Yeah, those sites that tell you like when to go, like gives you like one or two different points, and I think there was one app actually that like would like buzz, like you put in what time you start in the movie, and it would buzz and it would tell you, hey, now's a good time to go. And if you were in the bathroom, you could like pull up the app and it would tell you what you're missing. So then by the time you get back, you're fully looped in. Now that's the greatest app in the world.
That is, I would have to say.
So yeah, like you said, there's a lot of times they just cram in multiple villains, multiple people, and this one I don't feel like they did that. They kept it pretty spaced out. You had Jean Grey.
If I may interject, which is really like counterintuitive because you think, they do have a lot of the rogue characters, the rogue gallery characters, but it's just kind of like what do you call the montage, right? So it's not necessarily like they packed a lot of villains into this, but it was just little bits, little snippets. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and a lot of them are bit players, right? And it went to show that he's like, I can beat these people no problem. Like there's nothing exciting about this. It's just even the police are like crime's down, man. Like,
Yeah.
you're doing your job. Like, it's great, and so they can show just those little, like you said, the rogue gallery of villains. And
it kind of fills out the world. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it makes the world, or the film that the world, you know, sets in. It's like it just fills it out, and it makes it more, I don't know, lived in. That's how I felt about it, anyways. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was, it showed very well the 4 years. You know what I mean? Like, you could tell, like, so it's not fighting the new villain every other day. You know, it's not like they're popping up all over the place. But
Right.
he's had a fair share of people that he's had to tackle, which is great. And the work in Jean Grey, and the one thing I was worried about is Punisher, right? Like, that's kind of, are you forcing a square peg into a round hole?
Right.
And to me, I feel like they handled it pretty well.
I would say so. I mean, yeah, I was a bit worried too, because I knew he was more of the R-rated, and I was wondering how they were going to kind of clip his wings, so to speak, to kind of fit into this. But you know, I haven't watched a lot of Punisher on Disney Plus, so I didn't really. I knew that he was kind of an R-rated character, so. But I didn't know to what extent, and I think they did well. I mean, I have really nothing to base it on, but it seemed to fit. So, yeah.
Yeah, the Disney Plus stuff is, I mean, Netflix, we should say first, right? Like,
Oh,
start
yeah,
with
Netflix.
and but it's done really well. It's portrayed really well. The second season of Punisher is awesome. Is really solid. It's less superhero-y. You know, he doesn't have any powers. He's just shooting people, and that's questionable at points, because you're like, how is this dude surviving, like, all of this? But again, beyond that, it tells good stories. The little one shot they just did was pretty good. It was very brief, but it was a solid story, and I feel like it did feel like just an issue of a comic book. Right, it felt like you were getting it was, let's get the Punisher in, get the Punisher out kind of scenario. It wasn't. It was still a Spider-Man movie. It wasn't a crossover movie, which was great.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because again, I feel like that was the problem with Marvel the last couple of years, which was, like I said before, it was just, let's put these two people together. Let's introduce this person, and then it's off to the races. And the story kind of got left behind. And there was something that I wanted to kind of touch on when we left. We were kind of waiting in the lobby there after the movie's over, and I was saying something to the effect of like, well, this is like more comic booky than, or this was like an ultimate like kind of comic book movie. Because it was kind of self-contained. It didn't have all this kind of ties to until like the end credit scene, but it didn't have any ties to what was upcoming, or I mean Jean Grey obviously, but yeah, it was just, it had this, I don't know how to explain it. I can't really explain it, but it just had this. It was like you just read a comic book issue, and it really had all of the things that, in comic books you have when a character is going through something, you have all the thought bubbles, what they're thinking of themselves, and that just kind of came through in the movie. I don't really know how to explain it any better than that, and so at the end, I just felt like I just read a comic book, and it was pretty cool, and I loved how they pulled this off. And it's a great movie. Loved it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had humor in there. You had pretty solid fight scenes. I mean, this time they used a full cloth Spider-Man outfit, right, instead of a motion capture type rig.
Yeah.
I feel like that, lack of a better term, showed in a good way. I feel like it felt very realistic versus some of the other times it can kind of take you out of it. You and I have talked about CGI a lot and its place and when it's going to be overused. But I feel like putting him in the cloth suit for most of this, it's not, like you said, it's not spandex.
Yeah.
It's. But I feel like that was great.
Yeah, I think another thing that really attracted me to especially at the beginning, was this idea that Peter Parker was kind of, in the previous iterations, everybody knew who he was. Aunt May, Ned, MJ, Stark. Everybody knew who he was, and it kind of lost the appeal to me. Not a lot, because I still enjoyed the movies, but there was this sense of in the comics, I think a lot of it was that kind of like with Superman and Clark Kent, it was this kind of internal struggle about maintaining, or Peter Parker actually, maintaining his kind of, being alone a lot, because he wanted to keep everybody that he loved safe. And so that struggle of trying to do that and also fighting crime all the time and so I think that's what kind of drew me into the beginning of this movie. They go back to it toward the end, and he starts to develop a relationship with MJ and Ned again. But up until then, I still loved the movie, but up until then, it really kind of took you back to the comic book character of Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and all the things that he went through in those early comics. And that's what I think what it was. Now that I'm thinking about it and hearing you talk about it. So, yeah, that was the big draw for me, because I had you just didn't see that in the other ones. Everybody knew who he was, so you kind of negate Peter Parker's kind of side in all this, and it was good to see that back. I liked it.
Yeah, you get the first movie. It's origin, right? And it's he's a teenager, and you've got all that kind of awkwardness that comes with that, and questioning your place with your friend group and society and all that stuff. You get to the Mysterio one, which not my favorite. Let's go on vacation type of scenario. And then you go to the third one where, like you said, everybody knew who he was, and it felt like he expanded. Even the villains that came from the other universes knew who he was. And he got that kind of sense of community, and then it just got pulled away from him. With May dying, and then everyone having to forget him. So I feel like people might forget how isolated he was at that point. Like it wasn't just that he's going from, a couple people know who I am, and I'm losing a couple people, but like a lot of people knew who he was. So it was a big jump to get to this point for him. And I feel like, it did bring it back to a good spot where it's like, people don't know who he is, and he wouldn't even take his mask off for Frank. When he's drinking coffee, which was a very funny scene.
That scene too. Another aspect of it, I think, I don't know if they put this in, this character in this movie, and I kind of touched on it again after we saw the movie, but the addition of Detective Jean DeWolf. So in the lore of everything, which it was a storyline in Peter Parker the Spectacular Spider-Man, I think it was Peter Parker the Spectacular, in like 86 or something, I can't remember the year, but it was in like the mid 80s. And it's after he gets his black suit, so it's after he comes back from Battle World and Secret Wars. And she gets, there's a storyline where she dies, and he has to go and find who killed her, and it becomes more of like like a Batman kind of thing, where he has to be a detective. He has to find these people, or this person that killed her. And so the idea that they introduced this character who is Jean DeWolf, and to me, the darkness of, because the storyline is pretty dark, the Jean DeWolf storyline. And so the idea that he, because he goes off on a couple, on who was it, Scorpion? And, he gets really dark because he doesn't know how to control his mutations yet. And so I'm thinking that maybe after Secret Wars, they're going to kind of dive into that storyline. And I just want to say, you heard it here first, folks. Like, I hope they do. And if they do, it's going to be it's going to be a darker Spider-Man though, because he really, he toes that line of being a killer and to kind of satisfy his thirst for kind of revenge and staying on the right side of things. And so if that's the case, and I hope that in Secret Wars they do a what is it? They do what's the black suit?
Venom.
Venom. Yeah, I hope they do a really good portrayal of Venom. And if so, I hope we get his black suit. I hope Venom makes an appearance. And if so, I think everything is set up for the storyline, which is called the Sin Eater. That's the villain. And if that's the case, man, I can't wait. Cannot wait. Let me know. Anybody who's listening to this, let me know in the comments if you think that holds any water.
Yeah, we've got Doomsday coming up, and then we get Secret Wars.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see where that all folds in. My question to you is, how much more Tom Holland do we have in us for these?
I think, I've heard him. I've read that he's been quoted as saying, he'll be Spider-Man until they don't want him anymore. It's going to be definitely an older Spider-Man. I think he's 30 now or something around there. Tom Holland. So I think there's got to be more mature kind of adult-themed stories coming out. He's not the high schooler anymore. Unless they want to do a reboot, which, this is going good. But, because the thing about comics is that he's perpetually, in that high school, college age. And of course, as in the 80s, they kind of go past that, and go on these different tangents. But the Spider-Man that we know and love is usually a younger, trying to figure it out. Peter Parker is the broke dude who lives in a shithole and whatever. But again, if they go darker, or they keep Tom Holland, I'd love it if they went darker a little bit. Maybe not R, but close. Mm-hmm. How about you? Do you see him kind of carrying this Spider-Man torch for a little while longer?
Yeah. How long is it? When was his first Spider-Man movie?
I think it was like 16 or 17, because he first came with Civil War, right? And that was in 16.
Civil War was the first appearance.
Yeah, so it's...
So we're talking 10 years now.
Yeah, it's 10 years. So it's like, let's see, Civil War, 16, yeah. So...
Yeah, it's... So, people...
17.
He has a youthful look to him still, and I don't see that going away. I don't think he's going to go to get any face tattoos or anything like that. So I feel like he could continue it, and I think he probably will. It's a good gig to have. It's a good thing to be known by. It's good steady work, and it's hard. I'm sure it's physically demanding too, but I'm sure there's a lot of fun to it with him because he knows all the people that he's working with now, and one's his wife. So he has a lot of friends on the crew.
I heard that. Spider-Man was supposed to film at the same time as the Odyssey, and so and Nolan wanted him for the Odyssey, so he called the head of Sony, which I guess he's buddies with, called him and talked him into delaying this filming of Spider-Man, and so because Tom Holland isn't really that. His part is not really. There's not a lot of him in that movie, Mm-hmm. I think there's one big scene with him at the end, but so he called the head of Sony, talked him into delaying the shooting of Spider-Man so he could finish the Odyssey and then do Spider-Man because he wanted to do the Odyssey, and they did. So it seems like he's buddy, and I've heard all sorts of stories that with him and Mark Ruffalo and some other people at a pub in London, and calling the head of Sony and being like, "Hey, can you show Spider-Man to this person or whatever?" And they set up a screening, and so he's really buddy with Sony. So I don't see them letting him go anytime soon. And yeah, I think he's going to be around for a while,
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that there's a little blip that if you blink, you'll miss it, but there's a little hint to Miles Morales in this movie. Did you catch it at all?
No.
It was I don't remember exactly, but it was like this thing where they were going through all this craziness with the headlines and stuff. And it was like, oh, and this something about a Latino superhero. And I thought, oh, that has to be Miles Morales, So they're dropping little hints in this movie about other things, and I don't know. I'm hoping that that the end credit scene, spoilers, the end credit scene when they show Spider-Man in space, or the little thing of Spider-Man in space. I was thinking it's either going to be Tobey Maguire or it's going to be something like Miles Morales. And so, I don't know. I was just little Easter eggs here and there, and it was cool. It's cool to hear.
Yeah, the after credits scene, and every time I go to watch like a Screen Crush or whatever on this, I've fallen asleep. Like I've watched it before bed, and I've fallen asleep before they explain what they think it's all about. I mean, it's gonna have something to do with Doomsday, right? Like something with the spider signal is out in space. And is that Peter? Is it showing that that's like he's gonna be out in space, like and is space where the Secret Wars is going to take place?
Battle World
somewhere there versus another dimension type of thing. But I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens with Doomsday and where we go from there with Spider-Man, because Doomsday it's got to be the end of the Fox universe, right? That's kind of, I feel like the reasoning of it is okay, great, we can bring these people back, we can end that, and we can now start with Jean Grey and start with the X-Men in this universe, the 616.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see Spider-Man get to interact with those other people, and if Fantastic Four is there too. So, and you always see Spidey with the Fantastic Four a lot. He was in the Fantastic Four, right, for a little bit, or just an honorary member at least. But so it'll be interesting to see like what opens up from these next two movies.
Yeah, and a lot of it, I think we've talked about it. I think we talked about it last summer with the release of Fantastic Four and the announcement of Doomsday. Was this idea that there's this idea that really nothing has been built up to these, because I think you had about 10 years of build up before Endgame and Infinity War. And so I think with this, I gotta tell you, man, I did not enjoy this phase of Marvel the last 5 years, and it seemed like, again, what I said before about the filling the movie with just lots of superheroes. But there was also really, I think Jonathan Majors' thing kind of just took it off the rails, because it sounded like they had something solid to work toward. They had one movie with him, or one movie and then Loki with him. And then he was gone, and they changed everything. And it just seems like these movies, I want it to do well, but I just don't know how it's going to turn out. I mean, there's a lot of people with their opinions already, which happened with the Odyssey. I mean, the Odyssey is so incredible to see these people who create this narrative, and I've watched it, and I'm not going to say the YouTube names because I'm not into the drama, but a lot of YouTubers with their channels, and you look at their channels and everything, they just hate everything, you know. It doesn't matter what movie it is, they just can't enjoy it. And, you know, to a point, it's like, yeah, there wasn't a lot to enjoy, but the hope is still there for it to be a good movie, you know. And with the Odyssey, it was crazy to see how much, just how much turmoil there was before the movie ever came out. So that's kind of how I feel about Doomsday, which is, you know, I just hope they do a good job because I want these movies to do well. But we'll have to wait and see. You know, I'll be there first night. So
yeah, it does feel like Marvel has dropped the ball in many aspects of this phase.
Yeah.
It felt like they were leading up to a Young Avengers type of thing, because they were bringing in all these actors and bringing these characters, whether it's from Hawkeye and whether it was from WandaVision, just all these little, like, they weren't even Easter eggs, like they were meant to be there, and I feel like they were meant to move into something else, and it's just gone so slowly that those people have aged out.
Yeah.
You know, so you can't have them as the same characters anymore. So you're gonna have to recast them. They're gonna be different ages, especially if now we're talking that's been 4 years since Doctor Strange did his spell, and Endgame was before that. So you've got a lot of pieces that they just kind of left on the table that they didn't put into the puzzle.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of the people who aren't going to be in Doomsday, especially the Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man, which I read that the Spider-Man is probably going to be Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. It could be something else, I don't know, or it could be Tom Holland. But so it's like, yeah, you're right. I think it's a great point. The idea of having all these characters, at some point you need to have a reset. And I think that this is probably what it is. These next two Marvel big event movies, which is Doomsday and Secret Wars. I think it has, and with the addition of Sadie Sink as Jean Grey, they have to be going younger, you know, with these things. And you know, at some point Robert Downey Jr. can't be. Maybe they can use him as a kind of like a flashback or something, but at some point you have to go younger with these if you're going to continue with this comic book kind of series. And it's going to be interesting to see who does that. I mean, because right now, I think this is a way of kind of purging Wolverine. What's his name? Hugh Jackman from Wolverine. And not in a way of like, you suck and you've ran out of steam. It's just that you kind of, how I feel about Superman is just that you just kind of, what do I always say about it?
You've aged out of it.
I've aged out of it, yes. So I feel like at some point Marvel has to do these recasts. And I think, they've tried to do it before with the Marvels, and not replacing, but just adding more Marvels to their movie, and it's like, at some point you have to go younger, and it's going to be interesting to see how they do that. So
yeah, and a reset is great. They've got all these branches that they can trim, right, and it's good for them to permanently trim them.
Yeah,
maybe they pull Wolverine and he's in the 616 permanently. You know, maybe some of the people are out of that timeline and out of that universe and are staying in ours. Just because you destroy a one part of the multiverse, like, it doesn't mean that they can't be in ours when that's destroyed. So they can still save some people and bring some people over, and maybe they do that. Maybe Wolverine is part of building up Professor Xavier's school. Maybe he's more of a bigger part of building it up versus coming into it after it's been created. Who knows what they're going to do with it? Because that's a big character right there. And I get that Hugh Jackman is old and stuff, but people love him. I think it'll be difficult for people to accept someone else's Wolverine unless you physically get rid of him. You say, yes, this is a reboot and this is gone, and now you bring in someone that's a complete. It has to be
an
not
unknown,
like Hugh Jackman at all. It has to be, it has to be an unknown, and it has to be someone that can take a different aspect of that character, and take the he's short, he's wiry, and take that aspect to him versus the Hugh Jackman one.
Yeah, I mean, because with Sadie Sink, obviously they're going younger with Jean Grey, and for me, it'll just be tired to see Hugh Jackman falling in love with Sadie Sink, and so that's why I say that, because it just at some point you're gonna have a 60-year-old Wolverine, and again, the age thing, he looks great. I'm not saying that he looks old. I'm just saying in terms of the dynamics within a movie or a series or whatever it is. And like you said, you could still have him as like from a different universe, and having all that dynamic added to it. But you still gotta, you gotta have someone there with Jean and the other X-Men to kind of fit that aesthetic. It can't be like Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart with a bunch of young kids. It just doesn't work. So yeah,
there's gonna have to be a lot of resetting, a lot of figuring out what's going on. I do think it'll be good for them to kind of just chop off those things, because the nostalgia, we're Epic Media Adventure. We lean into the nostalgia part of it, and the nostalgia is heavy when it comes to the Fox side of things and X-Men, because that was our first real approach into superheroes on the big screen. So it's going to be difficult for them to revamp that. I think like you said, they have to go younger, and they can do it. But it's going to be it'll have to all mesh with everything else. Like, I don't feel like they're going to reset the 616 environment completely. Like, it's like not like, oh, now there's a new young Captain America, and everything's fresh. So they're gonna be having to adapt these like X-Men stories into what's already going on with the superheroes. But we're here for it. We're here for it for sure. One segment I like to get into that we need a name for it is could this movie have ended sooner? Right? Like, because we always come up with like, hey, in Masters of the Universe, the sword is right there. The bad guys could have just grabbed the sword and ran with it. Like, it could have just ended there, or his cell phone could have fixed this whole story. Do you feel like this could have ended anywhere like sooner? Because I feel like it did a pretty good job.
Well, in terms of those kind of things, I could probably go back on the second viewing and figure it out. For me, the third act was kind of clunky a little bit. I think that's the only kind of dink I'll put on it, as is the introduction of the third act, because again, it's she gets captured, she gets taken away. Spider-Man realizes who she is and what she's trying to do, and you could have made that a little shorter, but it had to be. It was like the Jean Grey episode. It was like a Jean Grey episode, that third act, and so I think the introduction of it was clunky insofar as like they had to show the backstory there a little bit, and to me it kind of ran on a little too long. But it's a minor complaint. But as far as like they could have done one action could have ended the movie, and I don't know. How about you? What's your take on that?
I didn't see anything. Normally you could be like, he totally could have, if he wasn't grandstanding, he could have just shot the person right there. Like, there's a lot of movies where one bullet could have changed, saved 40 minutes of your time. And there wasn't a whole lot of that, because he couldn't get to Jean Grey. He didn't know who she was. He saw her leaving, in the car. That's the first time he sees the image of her and gets to capture it. but he couldn't chase after her at that point. He's got MJ there. He's taking care of her. So I didn't really see any aspects there. I feel like Marvel does a pretty good job of making sure that those aren't there.
Yeah, and I heard too that I've heard this more and more in the last couple of years. Tom Cruise was talking about it. He did an interview overseas, and he was talking about how that one Mission Impossible where he's the Burj Khalifa, he's running around that building, and he was like, yeah, so we're sitting there and we have this set piece, and we just didn't know where to go from here. And so I called my friend Chris from Court. Yes, I know, and everybody, he goes to the audience, I know everybody, but this is how Hollywood movies are made nowadays. And it really kind of struck a chord with me because I feel like I've heard versions of that in the last couple of years with the what do you call it, with Florence Pugh and that movie, The Thunderbolts. One of the actors on the press tour was saying, like, we're going to make sure that we do this right. We want to make a good movie, so we're getting all the right people to converge and figure out the best movie we can do. And I've realized that, like, oh yeah, that's what the first Iron Man was like this. They didn't have a finished script, and they were kind of changing on the daily, and they made the movie that way. And I feel like a lot of the Marvel movies have been made like that especially in the last 5 years, where they just kind of they have a script, but they're changing it constantly, and they're doing this and that. Tom Holland, I think, at the beginning of this press tour was saying, he goes, let's not. And he said this, and I'm not quoting him directly, but in a roundabout way, he said, I didn't want to do what we've been doing the last couple of years. I wanted to have a script and a story finished before we even started shooting, and that was my condition on doing Spider-Man, this new Spider-Man movie. And you can tell it's kind of fully formed. There's no like you were saying in terms of, like, could this have ended earlier? You see that, I think, with a lot of other movies. Like you said, oh yeah, they could have just picked up the sword and did this. And that's how you know that, I feel like that's how you know the movie was kind of put puzzle pieced together by a committee. And in this movie, you don't have those things. So it's really cool and refreshing. And I hope that Marvel kind of learns that, hey, maybe we got to get the story down first, and then we can start shooting. So yeah, it was good. It was refreshing to see.
It definitely shows.
Yeah.
Well, one last piece I wanted to get into, narrative in the story. You have this spell, right? You have Doctor Strange, makes everyone forget, and a big part of it is Peter wanting to tell MJ and wanting his kind of old friends back. Mm-hmm. He's watching Ned's Instagram, which is hilarious to watch the Ned go through college, and you end up with Jean Grey taking into the body of MJ and pretending that she remembers Peter and everything is good and kisses him and then everything is great. It's a very harsh move, right? Like, that's a very villainy thing to do in many aspects. Now, one thing that she says after that is, look at you. She mocks him for thinking that true love's kiss would break the spell, break the magic spell. And we see that in so much media, that it's just true love and true love. The very end of the movie, Peter sees Ned and he decides, you know what, I'm gonna do it. He's ready. I'm gonna tell him who I am. And he goes over, and he just starts to do the handshake with him, and it just comes back into Ned's mind, and he goes, Peter, and it breaks the spell. And I've seen people post that Ned has magic. He was able to use the sling ring.
Yeah, that's right.
And that his grandma said he was special or something like that. Maybe there is a little aspect of he has some magic in him, but I don't know that is what they were getting at there. I feel like they were reaching towards that. Yeah, it's friendship. It's that actual core friendship that can break you out of something. Like you need that in your life, and it wasn't that he was missing his loved one. It's that core of people being able to come back to their friends, and people distancing themselves. And then you have friends that will come back together, and it's like it never changed.
Yeah.
And to me, that was a big symbol of that you can have friends in your life, that you can even cast a spell and make them forget you. But something simple there is never going to be gone. And that doesn't have to be love. It can be just something as simple as true friendship.
Well, I think that love is a part of that. I think when you imprint, when you have friends, there's a party that imprints upon them and them to you. And so I think when you can wipe out a memory, that impression is still on you. I feel like in your soul or wherever it is that your love comes from, your heart or whatever. I think that that's kind of the muscle memory of him kind of doing all that stuff and realizing that, oh, okay, yeah, there was something, because I think in No Way Home, they wipe out the memory of Spider-Man, or Peter Parker, but they have the memory of Spider-Man still. So there's still a part of that in when they hung out, and so I feel like that was the anchor that he was looking for in MJ, and then him realizing that I just need to be around these people because I love them, and that love transcends any kind of romantic love. I mean, it's still there. It still hurts, but the idea that these two people are biggest part of his life, that has to mean something. And I think that scene validated that kind of feeling of there has to be something there that he was looking for. And when you finally kind of give up trying to force it to happen, I feel like, again, the whole life thing, that's when shit happens. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah, I liked that it wasn't the carnal love, it wasn't just that, because, he wasn't friends with MJ, in the first movie, he was just, getting to know her. And Ned, he's known a long time. I don't know if they've put in there that he's known him his whole life, or, when they first met or whatever, but they're clearly connected very, very well. And so, opening Spider-Man up and Peter up to not being tied down by MJ, that they can still have MJ there as a friend group, as a technical comrade that can help him with these technical problems that he has, and Ned can be there for kind of the emotional support and some tech stuff too. I like that they opened it up a little bit there. And it wasn't just, okay, great, now he's got a girlfriend again. Great, okay, everything's back to normal. It's like, no, it would have been so easy to do that. So easy to just give that lip service, kind of, pun intended, that you can have him have his girlfriend back and everything, he can be happy again. And no, he can't be fully happy, but he can have friendship.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what, I feel like that's what, before, when everybody knew who he was and he had MJ who loved him, and I feel like that took away from what it was to be Spider-Man Peter Parker, that kind of struggle that we've seen in the comic books. But also to have those people there, but not, he's still protecting them by, not being in love or not having that kind of accessibility to MJ and Ned, because he knows what's at stake. And that's what kind of gets back to what Spider-Man was in the comics, and that dynamic between Peter Parker and Spider-Man, which is, I think a great thing, because that's what I loved about it, Spider-Man in the comics. So yeah,
it's a solid movie. It's the Marvel Universe, something that they can try to map it out as much as they want, but there's going to be things that are just, you have to say a wizard did it. You have to be like, a wizard did it. That explains that whole thing.
Yeah.
Marissa Tomei's Aunt May. I think the tombstone said 2024 on it.
Yeah, that
so
was
that
weird.
Now means it's 2028 in that universe.
Yeah.
There's just little things that you have to be like, well, when did it start? And you can go through, and I'm sure there's a timeline out there, and you can find it. But some of the stuff you just have to go, yeah, Wizard did it. Like it's fine. Just allow it to happen. Just roll with it. It's not that big of a point there.
Yeah.
It's like we were talking about. Could a cell phone have fixed something? Was there any little plot point that could have stopped the movie sooner? And I love Cinema Sins, but I feel like it just ruined a lot of us and made us more cynical to look at movies in this manner and just not be able to sit there and enjoy them. And I that's gotten into my head a little too much, and as I've gotten older, and I'm trying to pull myself out of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at all the fluff, the kerfuffle about the Odyssey. That was ridiculous. I mean, I couldn't. I feel like that's what you're speaking to without even. I don't know if you've kept up with it or anything, but just go online, and the discourse about that movie is ridiculous, because it's like, if you go and see the Odyssey and you don't like it, great. You don't have to like it. You don't have to like it. You don't have to like Chris Nolan. You don't have to like any of that. You don't have to like the movie. But to create this narrative before the movie even comes out, and then because you've created the narrative, now you have to not like the movie, or else all of that is for nothing, and your YouTube channel is for nothing because you hate everything. So it's like you have to kind of, some people just create this thing, and it's like, dude, just enjoy yourself. Go watch a movie. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But don't create all these reasons to not like it and then go see the movie and be like, yeah, I was right. It's like, well, of course you were right, dude. You don't set yourself up to be like, oh, I was wrong. I mean, few people do that, and you have to be really, but yeah, I mean, I think that in this day and age, there's a lot of that stuff, and there's a lot of stuff, and I went and saw the Odyssey myself, and I have my opinions about it. I thought it was a great movie. Do I think it's one of Nolan's best? No, but it was still a great movie, Anyway, so yeah, I feel like that cynicism has kind of crept into me too, and it's kind of like, because I went through that with the Odyssey, it's like, you know what, and it was my experience with record stores in the early 2000s when I worked a lot of them. I don't want to be like that, so yeah, it's.
I could have just shut myself off when I saw, Peter Parker, browsing and seeing Bureau on the shelves in the bodega. I could have shut myself off right then, but I saw it. And I told myself, I was like, yeah, marketing's going to market. It's going to do what it's going to do. So we just got to kind of move along from that and just try not to let it take you out of it, and find the things that you do enjoy out of it, which is a big metaphor for life. It's not all going to be for you. Just find the things that are for you and cling to those things. But Spider-Man, what do you all think? Did you see it? Did you enjoy it? Do you think that they're on the right path? Did you enjoy seeing Jean Grey? One of my favorite things out of this whole Spider-Man scenario was the premiere and Cookie Monster being on the red carpet or the blue carpet. I forget what they had. I think it was a blue carpet, and Cookie Monster got to interview people, and it was really funny. If you haven't seen that, check it out, because he was asking Sadie Sink. He's like, "We're going to ask you one really difficult question you've been asked, but I want you to give an honest answer." And you can see she's like a little concerned, and he goes, "Crunchy or chewy cookie?" Because just everyone was just pounding her about Jean Grey. Like, if you were going to get dressed up, would you wear gray colored jeans? Like, just leave the person alone. They can't talk about this stuff. So did it pay out for you? Did you enjoy seeing Jean Grey on the big screen in this universe? Let us know. Hit us up on Instagram, hit us up on YouTube, wherever you get the podcast. Just leave us a comment. We're happy to see it. Steve would love some information if you guys are into the whole detective thing and the backstory there. If you recall that, and if you think they're going to go that direction with it, leave us comments. Let us know. We love to hear from you. Until next time, I'm Scott. This is Steve. This epic media adventure is over.